Talk about a basic theme that says excellence is a choice and exploration is the key. I base that on my experiences in the space program, and it tries to convey a serious piece of motivation to the audience, in which is that hello, Frank.
Hello. Can you see me?
Oh. I see you, but anyway, one of the key messages I try to get across to people is the past is over. We never do live in the future, and the present is really all that we have. Now, I got that theme from dealing with the space program folks, and one of the astronauts that I know had a great way to put it. He said, you know, spaceships have no rear view mirrors. So the past, you can make it a foundation and you can build on it, or it can be an anchor and hold you wherever you are, going nowhere forward. It's your choice. Now, I'm standing on the moon one day. Conversations with John Young can begin that way. It's there twice. So I'm standing there on the moon one day, and we'd been out kind of doing our moonwalking, Charlie and I. We were back in our little spaceship. And, you know, I was looking down at the side of my little spaceship, and the sides are going whoop, 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 in this thin little sheet metal, and I look out the window and I put my thumb up and the whole world disappears. And then I look down at this lowest and best bid, whoa, it's moving, and I'm getting a little nervous about this thin sheet metal. And I put my thumb up. Everything I know is gone behind my thumb. And I looked down, and finally I decided I'll just pull down the shade, get out my checklist, and focus on what's next, or I'm just going to get too worried about how far I am from the house. Learned great lessons from working with these folks. People said, what, really? I mean, Vegas? Yeah, we chose Vegas. We love the desert. We just love it. And the fact is, if you go 4 hours in any direction from here, you come to some spectacular places, some of the nicest places in the Western Hemisphere. Frank's house isn't quite that far away, but it's spectacular too, in beautiful Canam. We've been married now for 36 years as of next month. And not a day goes by that we don't thank our lucky stars that we haven't killed each other. We met at work. That was in Cincinnati. I was a reporter and anchor at the NBC station there. And one day I'm just sitting at my desk, minding my own business, and in walked this spectacular woman. And
I came in next.
And then came Pat. And you know, it really was she's been coming here since her childhood, and she went on to do some of the, I'm not biased or anything, but she went on to do some of the best PR recent years in this crazy town that we both really love, my wife, Pat.
Well, as John mentioned, yes, I've been coming since I was 9, and I do have a few anecdotes about before there was the player club card, and they actually gave you comps and freebies and everything because they liked you. And back then, you know, there was a time where, let's say on New Year's Eve, right at the stroke of midnight, they might deal even the dealers' cards face up, just because they wanted to. You know, things were different then, back in old Las Vegas. My very first recollection was taking the train from Los Angeles, and we stopped, my mother and I did this, we stopped at the Union Plaza Hotel. I decided I was going to use the restroom, and while I was occupied, my mother decided that she was going to play Keno. And when I came out of the bathroom, guess what? On a 50-cent ticket, she had won 8 out of 9 numbers, and we were suddenly $450 richer. Now, back then, this was 40-something years ago, that was a lot of money. Well, to the day she died, she never stopped playing those same 9 numbers. Never won a penny more, but still played those numbers. Even when she moved to Florida, she somehow managed to play those same 9 numbers, still never won anything. Afternoon at the hotel pool, and of course these are all little anecdotes about from the point of view of being a tourist, I hope you understand, before I moved there. I'm sitting next to the pool and a nice man strikes up a conversation with me. And it turns out that this was Tony Martin, the entertainer. He invited me and my mother to see his show that night in the lounge. And I said to him, well, that's awfully nice of you, but I'm only 19, and if I recall correctly, you have to be 21 back in the day then to see a lounge show, because they only serve drinks. And he says, well, that's okay. You tell the maitre d' that you're my niece. So I tell my mother, and I'm like fretting and sweating and everything, how am I going to do this, how am I going to do this? And we're waiting in line, and we get right up to the maitre d', and before he can say a word, I blurt out, we're here to see my Uncle Tony! And he says, oh, yes, yes, we were expecting you. Step right this way. And he takes us in, and we have lovely seats right out in front. Well, Mr. Martin was charming and gracious, and I repeated that story many, many times. In fact, I told Norm Clark about this when Tony Martin passed away, and he put a little blurb about it in his column, because Tony Martin had only ever been gracious, never made a pass or did anything. I mean, he was just very, very nice man, and that was one of my experiences in how old Las Vegas was, and I never forgot it and always remembered just what a nice man he was for doing that.